Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is our Rise News analyst, Emmanuel Afeni. Great Malabites.
Yes.
Action.
Good morning, Victoria. Tundu MQ Abiola.
Good morning. You know, I'm filling your friend's shoes. So I'm a wannabe Dr. Abati this morning.
Looking dashing in that little black dress.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah.
Good morning, Rufai.
Morning, sir.
Rufi. Rufi. Rufai without L. Now let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, Shell, Exxonmobil face huge remediation cost over abandoned onshore assets. ITO considers options against multinational oil company over Nimbe spill. Sector not ripe for full-blown deactivation processes, says industry regulator. Stakeholder want enforcement of rules. Yes, according to this report, Shell Petroleum Development Company and Exxonmobil are presently faced with huge remediation costs over their failure to properly decommission and cap oil and gas assets across the Niger Delta, especially the ones sold to Nigerians in recent divestiture programs, a situation that creates severe environmental risk and pollution to host communities in the oil-rich Niger Delta. This they gathered from stakeholders that the recent case of ITO's Nimbe wellhead blowout brought to the fore the need to enforce the relevant laws and to ensure that the multinationals that sold the assets to the Nigerian companies pay remediation charges. Well, I don't want to believe that somebody is trying to pass the buck when it comes to what has just happened in Nimbe, because I also don't want to believe that these companies did not do due diligence before buying these assets from the OICs and IOCs, rather, the international oil companies. Because if you buy these assets and you've been taking the benefits, now that it has come with a burden by way of this blowout, you must also take that burden and deal with it. The people of Nimbe and environs that have just been affected by this spill cannot be waiting for ITO to go and get whatever it costs, huge remediation cost from Shell before it can take care of the fallout of that blowout, because the environment has been polluted, the people are suffering. ITO and its joint venture partners, and I want to believe the NNPC is part of that partnership, they must do the needful for the people of the Niger Delta. I think they are more concerned about bringing this remedy to ameliorate the sufferings of the people. Of course, when the people ask for higher percentage of, in the PIA, of course, nobody, the government or the president quickly rushed and signed the bill, even when that conversation was still on. Now, the people who are the host communities, because that fund, 3% in the PIA is for the host communities, but the people were saying 10% should be a better deal. Now, the people are taking 100% of the brunt of oil exploration, in this case, pillage, destroying their flora and fauna, destroying their means of livelihood. So this conversation about indigenous oil companies looking for huge remediation from the oil majors, well, that conversation will go on, but those who have polluted the environment, the company that is operating that well, ITO in this case, must also do the needful, along with its joint venture partners, to take care of the situation while they pursue the oil majors, the IOCs, for whatever remediation they think they are entitled to. But I'll be surprised if they did not do proper due diligence before taking over these assets. I also don't want to believe they don't have the expertise to know where there is problem in the assets they are acquiring. Of course, that is the whole idea behind due diligence. Now, let's look at the Guardian newspaper. 2021, weak incomes, inflation, push investors away from rights issues. Nigerians may lose ownership of listed companies, listed firms over loans for rights. How weak growth, sluggish NGX performance, forest care investors. 10 firms list 906 billion naira shares on NGX in 2021 as investors initiate sell-off. Yes, a lot of listed companies on the Nigerian Exchange Limited, NGX, may in the near future be controlled by foreign investors due to failure of existing shareholders to subscribe to rights issues offered by their companies as a result of rising poverty, inflation, and devalued currency. Yes, the Guardian looking at the situation at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, as it were, and the plight that may befall Nigerians who own majority shares in some companies listed, because the rights issues, they are not able to buy more shares. Foreigners may just do that and take control of their companies. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper, low capacity COVID-19, curb aviation performance in 2021, looking at sectors as they perform in the outgoing year. The newspapers are doing just that. Now, additional 30 aircraft expected in 2022. Players in the Nigerian aviation industry have decried the performance of the sector in the outgoing year, saying aviation in the country performed poorly and below expectation. Well, let's see what will happen in the new year with the likes of Air Peace getting more flights into Dubai, and we hope we'll be able to enforce our BASA, the bilateral air service agreement with other countries, so that Nigerian airlines will also utilize our quota. But that also depended on how the airlines are ready to invest in their activities. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, Malami's defense of Buhari's veto triggers outrage. His claims basis, MBF, direct primary produced Buhari in 2019. Sani, ex-Attorney General of the Federation's cry, is playing on our fears for violence for selfish ends. Development, a tragedy for government, PA, at the Banjo. Malami speaking in confusing manner. Afenifere, it shows government can't address constitutional challenges. Shonibare. Well, the issue of direct and indirect primaries, as it affects the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which the president did not sign, citing. But what perhaps we must also keep in view, the president is not against direct primaries. What he is against is imposing direct primaries as the only option political parties can use to pick their candidate. And for those who don't seem to like the president's argument. I do. Although I did not support his not signing. I thought he should have signed. Then we'll go back and try and amend that vexatious, controversial clause, as it were. But what the president is saying is that give parties the option, and he gave a number of reasons and bottlenecks that you put in place if you impose this on all political parties, big, small, and even medium, if there is anything like that. So I think we should try and understand the argument of President Muhammadu Buhari. But going forward, all efforts between the president, the National Assembly, and all stakeholders is to see how we can quickly deal with that, get the Electoral Act Amendment Bill back on stream, let it go to the president with less controversy, or that controversial clause, deal with it one way or the other. Either you put the options in the Electoral Amendment Bill, or you just remove that so that parties can decide what they want to use. Those who prefer direct primaries, then on election days, go and vote for the candidate that was picked through direct primaries and forget about the one that was picked through indirect primaries. If you don't like that, that is my submission. Now, the Punch newspaper, federal government plans 12 trillion naira fresh borrowing. Public debt to hit 50 trillion naira by 2023. Government borrowing plan focuses on domestic bonds, concessional external loans. Go after wealthy Nigerians owing the country instead of borrowing, one economist is profiling. Assets must be created to justify debt. Infrastructure needs essential, says analyst. Now, the problem of mounting debt, I'm sure that is one that concerns every Nigerian, because this government has been borrowing and borrowing. Yes, some people say we have not, in fact, the Minister of Finance will say we are not even borrowing enough, that we've not got into our threshold, whatever that threshold is. But the fact is that the borrowing plan of this government is worrisome even to experts. Now, the Daily Sun newspaper, gunmen kidnapped 20 women in Zamfara. Troops killed 7 terrorists in Yobe. Foil ISWAP attack at Special Forces School. 17 months enough to end insecurity presidency. 17 months, we've been 6 years plus, we've not been able to deal with insecurity. Rather, it has expanded. Yet from the presidency, we are hearing that the remaining 17 months is enough to deal with insecurity. I'm sure those who are prayerful will just say amen to that. I hope the president can do that, this administration can do that, so that the security situation which the president, what the president met when he came in, I think it's worse off now. There's no debate about that, even if the presidency or spokespersons of the government don't agree with that. But that is the situation. Nigerians can attest to that. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper, COVID-19, experts harp on vaccination as cases surge. Let's look at the foreign newspapers quickly. Now, the Times of London, household energy, no, that's not the main story. The lead story there is no COVID curbs on New Year's Eve parties. Johnson rules out fresh restriction in England. Yes, you talked about this earlier with Adesowa. For Boris Johnson, the people can just go out there and party in England, even when the rest of UK are using science and data to be cautious. Well, I'm sure they will count the cost after the celebration. After the parties, we'll see the data, because right now it's high in the UK, but of course that is what it is. The government of Boris Johnson has decided that in England, on New Year Eve, people can party and party, whereas the data just out, 112,628 coronavirus confirmed on Christmas Day. And this could go up because there's late delay in reporting as a result of the Christmas holiday. Well, they will deal with that. Now, the Wall Street Journal economic forecast slide as Omicron take toll. Yes, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, shortens isolation guidelines as surging COVID-19 strain poses threat to businesses. And the businesses are, of course, the forecast by economists, they are doing a rethink because clearly what they are saying as a result of the Omicron virus variant, the Omicron variant of the coronavirus, absenteeism at workplaces, and many are staying at home. Of course, it's definitely going to affect businesses. The beautiful Tundu.
Oh,
Rufy the Fire.
I want to talk about the story in this day, your points about due diligence.
Yes.
I would expect that obviously due diligence would have been carried out. However, it was in the news back in February of 2021 that Nigerian courts froze Shell's accounts pending the outcome of a case that ITO had instituted against Shell. So it appears that there is a huge degree of buyer's remorse here from ITO, because what they're alleging, why they dragged Shell to court in the first case, before this disaster even happened in Nembe, was that they underreported oil sales and that the pipelines were in bad condition. So due diligence is all very well and good to the extent that it works. Sometimes you're presented with a, Greek gift, like you were saying yesterday, and it's unfortunate. And they were suing Shell for $4 billion already. It's only just been compounded, so that's just to address your point. Now, this story in the Punch about debt, go after wealthy Nigerians owing the country instead of borrowing. That's a reference to a report by 90 that there's some wealthy Nigerians, and this appeals to my mile-wide socialist streak. Tax the rich. Why ever not? Yes.
Well, this is even beyond tax.
Yeah, it's beyond tax. Yes, but go after the rich. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, because you've got a cap of, but I think what are they called? AMCON says about 4 trillion in this debt they've had to mop up. So if you take that 4 trillion, take it from the people, ensure they pay it up, then you put it back into the ecosystem, maybe we wouldn't borrow. I'm just scared for the borrowing because, we are not making new revenue. So the argument they keep giving is it's not a debt problem, but a revenue problem. Yes, because if we make revenue, we can pay back our debt. But we're never making new revenue and no new channels of making that revenue. So there's a lot of burden on the budget, and we're still taking deficits on the budget at the same time.
And what do we do with these borrowings? Pay salaries?
This is the thing. So tax the rich is just a general slogan, but the point of it is noblesse oblige. You must pay for your privileges as a citizen of Nigeria. That's a great idea.
The borrowing is not for investment. That's the problem. All right?
Thank you, Mr. Feni.